I'm 26F. Overworked, but my husband, 27M, won't help me out. I work 2 jobs right now since my husband lost his job a year ago. On top of that, I raise our 4-year-old daughter and cook the dinners. I also clean during the weekends. I begged for my husband to help me out, but he's too depressed right now to even watch our kid. I suggested therapy and he won't take it. How do I improve this situation? Edit. Thank you everyone. I'm going to hold an intervention with members of our families, although I'm likely going to have to call 911. Hate to say it, but you should give him an ultimatum. Depression is a bitch, but it's his responsibility to take care of the kids and the home if you're paying the bills. If he's not willing to put in the work with a therapist or grit his teeth and get through what needs to be done, then he's really just dead weight. I've seen your comments about him mentioning divorce and essentially abandoning your daughter. I just think he's a bad partner. Having depression isn't his fault, but if he won't try to feel better, what can you do? What does losing him cost you other than not having another grown-up child to look after as well as your daughter? As well as the anguish and frustration having a deadbeat partner, co-parent brings you. My 40M wife, 34F, has been spending a lot of time with her tennis coach. I am a pilot for a major airline and have been based in Hong Kong for the past 5 years. I'm originally from Australia and met my wife, a local, here. When I first met her, I immediately fell over heels for her, and long story short, we've now been married for 8 months. A couple months ago, her BFFs convinced her to take up tennis lessons and I approved. What better way to keep fit rather than sitting at home all day? Her tennis coach is a tall New Zealand fellow in his 20s, who was once an English teacher. I really didn't think much of it, but the once-a-week tennis lessons became twice a week and now they have suddenly become daily lessons. Rather than 1-hour lessons in the beginning, they now last over 3. I asked my wife if I could join her for tennis and she told me it wouldn't be such a good idea. Any advice on how to confront her would be well appreciated. Update 22/9. Firstly, thank you all so much for the advice. It was all very supportive and mostly helpful. While plenty of you suggested I hire a PI, I opted to confront her directly instead. I asked point blank why she had been spending so much time with John, not real name, the tennis coach, and if there's something I should know about. To my surprise, rather than a denial or apology, she got into a fit and said these exact words. "How dare you question what I do with my free time? You men of Australia are toxic and you are the ones that always cheat. Even my friend said Australian guy always cheat. I don't even know why I marry you, you are never home." Clearly I understand the concept of gaslighting, so I wasn't taking her bait. I made it quite clear that I know what she was doing and that I wasn't afraid of filing for divorce. She immediately stormed out of the flat and returned an hour later. To my utter surprise again, she began apologizing profusely. She admitted that she felt lonely when I was on duty and found someone to confide with. She told me she didn't want to lose me and would stop with the tennis lessons effective tomorrow. She clearly wants a second chance, even though I know how this is all going to turn out in the end. Yeah, she's not having 3+ hour daily tennis lessons. Big red flag if she doesn't want you to meet the guy as well. Consider hiring a PI if you require proof. Yeah, you wife is enjoying you pilot salary while boning her tennis coach. Open thy eyes. These questions and many others will be answered on the next episode of Soap. Oh Jesus, 3 hours every day? She's planning to turn pro. Or she's getting in some extra practice in other areas. Sorry, that sucks. Honestly, you could ask people at the tennis place if they're actually there for 3 hours. The usual read her messages, or as someone suggested, hire someone to see what she's up to. Dude, she's banging the tennis coach. Does my husband prioritize his mum before me? So, I, 23F, recently got married to my husband, 29M, and we're currently living with his family while our house is ready to move in. I didn't feel too good yesterday, so spent the day in bed and came downstairs in the evening. My husband was sat on one sofa, my mill on the other, so I sat on the empty sofa to avoid spreading any virus. Shortly after, my husband came and sat next to me and asked if I'd rub his back. I told him I wasn't feeling great and would appreciate if he could give me a rub. He said he would do when we got in bed later and moved back to the other sofa. His mum went and sat next to him and gave him the back rub he wanted, rubbed his head and neck while looking at me. I felt very uncomfortable. Then my husband started rubbing his mum's back and shoulders. I was completely astounded that he refused to touch his wife but did for his mother. We later had a conversation where I expressed how it upset me and I felt embarrassed that he very clearly showed his mum she gets what I don't. He said I was overreacting and he didn't feel comfortable rubbing me in front of her, and can rub his mother because we're living in her house. He says I'll get this treatment in our own home but he doesn't think it's appropriate in his family home. Thoughts? I think your husband is just weird. This whole thing made me uncomfortable. Who asks a sick person to rub their back and refuses them the same courtesy until later, which we all know never comes anyway. I'm mad that he asked, but then his mother does it. And for like an extended period of time no less? I'd peace out ASAP. He sounds like he is also 23, not a 30-years-old man. IG, that's why you're together? IDK. At nearly 30 I had nothing in common with 23-years-olds. Just different stages in life. This whole thing makes me cringe. Good luck with all that. Pretty weird a 29-year-old man is rubbing his mother, to be honest. Makes me feel queasy. I think that's weird. I can't imagine casually rubbing my mom's back, yet thinking it inappropriate to rub my wife's. Some people got weird relationships with their moms. My 32 wife, 33, of 7 months, together for 12 years, kissed another man. Last Friday night I got home from work and my wife, of 7 months been together 13 years, told me 2 male friends, who I've only ever met once maybe twice briefly, were hanging 4 houses down from ours. She implied that the married man of the pair wife would be there if it was okay for to leave me with the kids for a little while, as been with them all day and needed some time for adult conversation and a drink. When she came home she was acting oddly, told me she had to go to bed as she was tired. Shortly later she came out to the living room completely naked to surprise me. We had sex and she wanted to do things that she isn't normally interested in ever. I thought in the moment was odd. But thought why not try enjoy the moment. Something felt off and I wasn't able to finish. She seemed very anxious and overly concerned as to why I couldn't. But I told her it was fine and she went to bed while I stayed up for a little longer before going to bed myself. The next morning she was clearly having a bad morning, but I figured she had just been stressed out a lot the past week. As I was getting ready for a friend's overnight birthday party that night, she asks me to go to the bedroom where she confessed she asked the other married man to walk her home and he kissed her open mouth. I told her to delete the app that I believe she messages that group of friends on, an app I do not use, and that I wanted her to block him and have zero contact with him. And to delete everyone in that group of friends, most of which are male, as I don't trust any of them. Sunday morning I stumble back home very hungover and it has basically been very messy since then. She told me the details of the evening, which the man's wife wasn't actually there. She had been but left prior to my wife arriving, so it was just my wife and 2 men. She confessed that she had a flirtatious relationship with him since they met 2 years ago, but it intensified that week and especially that night. She said although she thought it was harmless fun, his intentions defiantly became obvious during that evening. She has allowed me to ask her questions about the night and about their friendship. From what I can see on her phone, she has deleted all conversations with him, so I don't know exactly how she spoke to him, to know for sure the extent of the flirting, which is really bothering me. She is now telling me she is going through a mental health crisis and has suggested it may be postnatal depression. Although it's obvious she is dealing with some mental health problems right now and has done for at least over a year, although it's coming to a head right now. I feel like she is trying to turn herself into the victim so that I put her emotions and feelings before mine. I can't sleep at night, I'm getting a couple hours max. I really don't know if I want this relationship to continue and it kills me. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, so I feel like I need to respect and protect myself by ending it. I love her and want the best for her, and I know for sure she is dealing with some mental health problems, so I also feel like I need to support her in that process. I also worry that if I leave her I will lose my children. My country isn't good to men in that regard, but they are my world and it breaks me to think I won't have them with me every day. I'm at a loss to what I should do next. As my closest friends are mutual and I don't want them or my family to hate her by going to them for advice and having to share the details of what happened. Thank you if you took the time to read this. Sorry it was so long, and thank you if you provide advice. Dude, she had an emotional affair and lied to you for years. Says she only made out with him but was alone with 2 other males without their wives, and is trying to blame mental health because she thinks she will get away with it if she uses that as an excuse to cheat. I always believe if they cheat the relationship is over, but if you want to make it work she will have to be 100% honest with you. I personally don't think they stopped at a kiss if they flirted for 2 years. If she is serious about making it work, she needs to cut all male friends out for a bit till trust is back, which may never happen. Probably RG to counseling, and she needs personal therapy. Too long did not read. Wife's been cheating on him for 2 years. Adults do not just kiss. She is trickle truthing you. Get STD test. If you have kids, get DNA tested.